Okay, so I've actually been wanting to make another video. Not about Helldivers. I actually kind of like talking to the void. But life has been stressful, and I haven't figured out a good recording time. But it's something I'm going to do. So, the question of today. So, I was watching Skillup's video this week in video games, and he announced that apparently, insiders say that apparently Dragon Age Dreadwolf is releasing this year. And I said, so this should be interesting. And the question is that something that's going to be exciting? And I said, that's opening a door. So what does that mean? Dragon Age Dreadwolf. So, Dragon Age Dreadwolf is a game created by a company called BioWare. BioWare was... I need my keyboard. Sorry, I need my keyboard. I will try not to make a lot of noise. All right, BioWare is a Canadian video game developer based in Edmonton, Alberta. It was founded in 1995 by newly graduated medical doctors Ray Muziaka and Greg Zeshuk, I am probably mispronouncing those, and Augustine Yip, alongside Brent Oster, and Marcel Zeshuk. Since 2007, the company has been owned by American publisher Electronic Arts. Now, BioWare has a pedigree of being one of the best role-playing game makers in the market. In fact, I would say that back in the day, they used to be, they were like the original CD Projekt Red, who I can explain, but hopefully, they make Cyberpunk and The Witcher, which are, if you want to equate it that way, the modern day Dragon Age and Mass Effect. Like, so, but they're really known for story. That's them, right? So back in the day, that was BioWare. They made some of the most beloved role-playing games. The Mass Effect trilogy, which I talked about in one of my other videos, and is the greatest movie I've ever played, was made by BioWare. Knights of the Old Republic, one of the most beloved Star Wars role-playing games of all time, made by BioWare. Jade Empire was cool. I liked it. They also did, if I remember, let me double check before I say this. Baldur's Gate. Developers BioWare. So they also made Baldur's Gate. They didn't make the new one. Baldur's Gate 3 is Larian, whole other explanation. But they did the original Baldur's Gate. They may have done the second one, I'm not certain. But I know they did the big one. So yeah, Mass Effect, Knights of the Old Republic, Jade Empire, Baldur's Gate, and Dragon Age, right? These are some of the classic role-playing games of all time. Especially, these were some of the games that were in the public consciousness in terms of role-playing games, like, you know, your Elden Ring is today, like stuff like that. These are the big games from before. And BioWare made them, right? So, beloved company, really good at voice acting, at story, really good at what they did, right? They made some really amazing games. Star Wars: The Old Republic, which my playthrough's been paused. Helldivers kind of fucked that all up, but still an amazing game, at least for the 1 through 50 playthrough. And that story and that Star Wars, and it's really good. Anyway, so they made all this stuff. And then what happened? So they made the most modern games they made are the Mass Effect series and the Dragon Age series. Those are their big hits. So they made the Mass Effect trilogy. There was controversy over the ending of Mass Effect 3, but the multiplayer, we all hated the concept of. I think I'm cold. We all hated the concept of, and it came out of nowhere and was Helldivers 2 back in the day, basically. So, yeah, it was good. And then, and simultaneously, because I'm kind of, if I were to break it down, I would consider myself a Mass Effect fan far more than a Dragon Age fan, which is equivalent to saying I'm a Cyberpunk fan more than a Witcher fan, which is actually true. But where was I? So they made the Mass Effect 3 trilogy. And simultaneously they were also making the Dragon Age series, which is their fantasy offering. I think the original was really based around Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, I think that's what that is. Dragon Age 2 changed, much like Mass Effect 2 changed from Mass Effect 1, Dragon Age 2 changed from Dragon Age 1. Now, there was controversy around that one because, unlike the first one, it was kind of set in a much more limited area, and a lot of assets were reused. However, I actually like the Dragon Age 2 the most. I don't know why. I get what everybody's saying, and you can see it while you're playing it. You can see how, like, they're going back to the same area over and over again, and it's just, actually, this may look weird, but it may be more comfortable for me. I bought a new robe. Right. What was I saying? Dragon Age. Oh, that feels so good. Dragon Age 2 change. Oh, I just really liked it. It was actually my favorite one, to the extent that I didn't actually finish Dragon Age Dragon Age Inquisition, which is their third offering. I don't want to say 100%, but I completed the entire story, plus the expansion for Dragon Age 1. Oh, this feels good. And then like I said, Dragon Age 2 is probably my favorite of the three. Inquisition, I tend to lean towards a mage, and I will say Dragon Age 2 probably has my favorite mage combat. You feel like you're doing martial arts with AoE attacks. I love it. Dragon Age Inquisition did not capture that same feel, which immediately put me off. The graphics are really pretty, but here's what I remember from Dragon Age Inquisition. Like in the first area, and I know that the big instructions around it were to not stay in that area. I get it, you can move on, but I like 100%ing at least the quest. I bit my tongue. The quest markers and side quests and checking off all the checklists on the map, so I stayed, knowing I can leave. And I was fine with it. Like I said, it's a very pretty game. That engine, as hard as it is apparently to work on, Frost... I can look it up. EA's Frostbite. EA's Frostbite engine is apparently notoriously hard to work on, but it makes some gorgeous games. Here's what I can tell you. I remember my biggest takeaway from doing that was that the world was very pretty, but it was very static. So cleaning off all of the map markers on that game, so you get to an area, you open up your map, and it has all the things here, right? Cleaning off the map marker of that map to clean all the stuff off, it felt like wiping off a painting. Like nothing really changed. Like the world was, you get to the area, and the world is like it is, right? It's just, this is the current world state. You get to this area, and this is the current world state. When you complete all of the side quests on the map, it still feels like it's in that world state. It's just cleaner. So it's like, this is kind of pointless. And on top of that, and spoilers? On top of that, it did something that Cyberpunk amusingly managed to avoid. So you have all of the little side quests, right? So you have your main quest, which is dragging you through the area. And then you have like the side quests from NPCs, and then maybe some map markers, and just basically things to check off that, hi, I've been to this part of the map and I have done the thing, and now I can move on. The problem, and this may or may not have contributed to the whole feeling like all you're doing is wiping a painting thing, is that all the side quests were pointless because everyone was always dead. Like, it doesn't matter what the like the initial quest dialogue that you're reading is in any area on any point of the map, the person you're looking for is dead every single time. Doesn't matter. So at some point, it feels so pointless to be repeating these events because the person's always dead. So it doesn't matter it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're never surprised. You're never like, oh, hey, this is the situation when you get there. It's just, oh, my dear brother, I hope I find you before blah blah. No, your brother's dead. Oh, my sweet mother your mother's dead. Oh, your dad, like everybody's dead all the time. That's the answer. It's just like, Cyberpunk manages to avoid this. Because I remember being like, oh, hey, they're doing something different. Don't ask me the specifics right now. I don't have that game loaded in my brain. But I do know that I was deliberately like, you guys fucking figured that shit out. Circling back. So that was Dragon Age Inquisition. Dragon Age 2 was my favorite of the trilogy. I just love that one more, especially because of the combat system. And I already pre-purchased Dragon's Dogma 2, because apparently the mage combat system in Dragon's Dogma 1 is amazing, but it doesn't load on my monitor, and for some reason, I can't play my Steam Deck very much. I like that I have it, but I can't play it very much. Anyway, so that's quick and dirty. No, it's not. Anyway, so where are we? So we're at Dragon Age Dreadwolf, okay? And like I said, in Ralph's video, he said it should be, somebody inside said it's possibly going to be releasing this year, and I said it should be interesting. Why? So, BioWare, this studio, this is where I get sad. BioWare, this beloved studio who I absolutely love, and I think is the only company I've actually deliberately went to buy their merchandise for, because I rocked the Mass Effect hoodie, Mass Effect N7 hoodie for a while, to the extent that I think it died, and I literally went to buy another one, and it happened to just be a rip-off, and I was like, and he didn't want to take it back, he was just, it was a mess, and I was just like, okay, I guess and by then, so, did I make water yet? I did. So yeah, BioWare, right? So here's kind of what I remember the timeline being, and I'm not going to look this one up because this is just my sense of the timeline as to what happened. So, actually, I will look up one thing, just to know the specific order. And one more thing. Got it. All right. So, it was obviously vague enough that this part didn't stick in my brain. Actually, let's look up one more. It's fitting. And that's where we are. Okay. So, that's BioWare. So, November 18th, 2014. BioWare releases Dragon Age Inquisition, and the irony of ironies is that it released to an 85% Metacritic score. 85% Metacritic score. It's 7 out of 10 on the Steam. 92% like this video game, which is Google users. I believe it won awards. I think it ran. Let's see, Dragon Age Inquisition awards. Deluxe Edition. Awards. The Game Award for Game of the Year, 2014 Electronic Arts BioWare. Game Award for Best... I was cracking my fingers. I can't really stop that one. Game Award for Best Role-Playing Game, 2014, BioWare. GLAD, I don't know what that one is, GLAAD. Media Award for Special Recognition, 2015, Electronic Arts. So when this game came out, it was well received. And like I said, it's a follow-up on... we can go into a lot of explanation here. I'm going to try to keep it short, though, because this is not the focus. So they came out with Dragon Age 1, Dragon Age 2, Dragon Age 3. Dragon Age Inquisition would technically be considered Dragon Age 3. So with their Mass Effect series, they created a cast of side characters and a main character that travels from Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2 to Mass Effect 3 to a degree I've not seen replicated in any other series ever. To the extent that, to a lesser or greater degree, my version of Mass Effect 3, the universe and the galaxy state that I have it in, could be, to a greater or limited degree, different than your save state of Mass Effect 3 galaxy map. Now, I will say that it's mostly just character-based, and most of those have, like, replacements that would just come in and to be a stand-in, but in terms of the weight of the relationship that you carried through 3 games and however many tens of hours, it's completely different when you come across a generic stand-in versus this character who you've invested this much time in. One of the things that make it the greatest movie trilogy I've ever played, and anytime you start a new Mass Effect character, you almost always have to start with Mass Effect 1 to take it through through the entire playthrough, because I've never seen anything like that before, and it's done to an amazing degree, and even riffed on in one of the last expansions they did, right? So that's their Mass Effect legacy. Their Dragon Age legacy didn't carry over quite that much. When you finished the first game, it had this extra website you could go to, and then you would put some information in or make some choices, and then you could import that save state into Dragon Age 2, and it would kind of replicate some of the choices, but nowhere to any extent as how the characters through the Mass Effect trilogy went through the game. So it was some, but not a lot. The other part is that, unlike how in the Mass Effect trilogy, almost every single one of your characters, you need to include Lair the Shadow Broker, which is the DLC for Mass Effect 2, but at that point, all of your main cast for Mass Effect 1 shows up in Mass Effect 2, I think. I'm fairly certain, because that's what I remember. The ones you care about, anyway. There may be... Oh, no, because there's even a gag with one of the, like, side characters that you only meet once. Is in at least the first 2. He may be in the third. I only finished that one time. I played more of the multiplayer. I'm getting way off track. Where were we? Yeah, so Mass Effect 1. Okay, Mass Effect 1, let's just say your entire cast of characters carried over from 1 to 2, and then that same, at least core cast of characters carried over from 2 to 3. The Dragon Age series didn't do it that way. Outside of the fact that you have this secondary website in which you have to put all your save content, your save state for the universe, all the characters that you met, knew, and loved in the Dragon Age 1 game did not carry over to Dragon Age 2. I think it was like... I know Flemeth did, and I really like that performance because it sticks out to me, and that's Kate Mulgrew, who's Janeway, which I didn't know for the longest time. I don't know why. Like, she carries over, and I think there might be like a quick appearance of some, like, but it's not all of them. It's not the core cast. So not only are you not playing the same character from Dragon Age 1 to Dragon Age 2 to Dragon Age 3 like you are in the Mass Effect series, not all the characters from Dragon Age 1 show up in Dragon Age 2, and not all the characters in Dragon Age 2. Oh, I don't know. I didn't complete Inquisition, but I do know from 1 to 2 it's different. And I think for 3 it's also, like, it's not the same vibe, right? So there was already that going on with the 2 series at the time. So, where were we? Dragon Age Inquisition released. I already said that date, and now I'm gone from that search. Where did it go? There it is. November 18th of 2014. To acclaim, right? Like, it was. I have issues with it, but I'm not. I wouldn't say it's a bad game. I got pretty far into it, and then fell out for some reason. I don't think I clicked with the combat system, and I think I was looking for a Dragon Age 2 combat system, and Inquisition wasn't giving it to me. But it is a good game, and it came out to a lot of awards and was beloved. Here's where the problems start to happen for BioWare. Nope, I don't need state. I need Date, May 18th, 2015. A company known as CD Projekt. I thought it was CD Projekt Red. How do I not know this? I don't know. CDPR, there we go, released a little-known game known as The Witcher 3, which, like I said, is May 18th of 2015. Now, January, March, April, May. I suck at months. November, January, March, May, June, July, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So like 6 months? That's probably wrong, but around there. Yeah, Witcher 3 came out and basically rocked the gaming sphere. I haven't. I didn't want to play it for the longest time, but I purchased it. But the combat system, it's not for me. And I'm, like I said, more of a Mass Effect than a Dragon Age player, so I kind of bounced off of it. But the gamer in me will 100% admit that this is one of the defining games of gaming history. Let's look this up. Witcher 3 awards. 2015 Game of the Year. From Warner Brothers, Game Award for Most Anticipated Game, the Game Award for Best Role-Playing Game. It's for all intents and purposes, it's the Dragon Age killer. This game released and presented a different take on the sort of narrative, cinematic storytelling style that had been BioWare's hallmark through all of these games, and mastered and refined from game to game to game to make, as I said, the best movie I've ever played. Because it's the Mass Effect trilogy. But Cyberpunk is the best movie I've ever lived. And if you've never played either of them, I would always say play the Mass Effect trilogy first, so that it's not ruined by the experience of playing Cyberpunk. CDPR is really good at what they do. BioWare used to be really good at what they do. So, Dragon Age Inquisition came out and did well. And then The Witcher 3 came out, and everybody hated Dragon Age Inquisition then. There was no real comparison. And again, I never really played Witcher 3, but all of the dialogue, probably even to this day, just trounces it. It's trounced. And it happened so quickly. And that's the thing that's kind of really sad. Because like I said, maybe, 4, 5, 6 months in the sun, Dragon Age Inquisition had, and it was beloved when it came out, and then this game just came out and shat all over it. And that was kind of the beginning of BioWare's downfall. So, that happened. March 21st, 2017, BioWare releases Mass Effect Andromeda. So, I've always said that if Mass Effect Andromeda had come out under just a, I hope I'm not making noise, I'm sorry, just under just a completely generic space game name that none of us had ever associated with Mass Effect, it would have done fine. Not super well. Starfield. We call it first generation Starfield. It would have done fine. Here's the problem. The problem is they called it Mass Effect. And Mass Effect is Star Wars level in terms of the science fiction community. It is Matrix level in terms of the science fiction. It is one of the defining science fiction experiences you can go through. The end. If you like science fiction, and if you like science fantasy, play Mass Effect. Play the Mass Effect Legendary Edition because you owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself, and if you didn't get that experience, it would be sad. You gotta immerse yourself in it. But yeah, anyway, so that's the Mass Effect trilogy. That's what I think about the Mass Effect trilogy. And so they called Mass Effect Andromeda Mass Effect, which means it's tied to one of the defining science fiction experiences. And it is not worthy of standing up under that name. And like I said, if it had come out with a generic space game name, it's fine. 6, 7, maybe 7.5 to 8. 8 pushing it. 7.5 experience. Fine, right? Fine. They called it Mass Effect. And they memed the face is tired. Like, it is... I never finished it. I tried. I put some decent time in it. Shit. How much time did I put? I don't want to open Origin, but I put some decent time into it. Specifically because I fell so in love with Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. I put some decent time in Andromeda multiplayer. Met some cool people. It just wasn't good. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't Mass Effect. And so calling it Mass Effect didn't help. Now, there's all this story and stuff about what's going on behind the scenes in EA and what's going on at BioWare and all that stuff, and I could go into a whole separate analysis about that, but I don't care about it. That's not what I like to talk about. I understand there's stuff going on in the background. I'm just saying this is the gaming experience, right? So, yeah. So they had Dragon Age. They got their moment in the sun. And this, keep in mind, this is that storied company who made all these amazing games. For their Dragon Age Inquisition, how would you describe it? Not sonnet. Epoch? There's a word. Their big moment. Their big game-changing, genre-defining. This is our opus. There we go. For their opus, for their Dragon Age opus, they got their moment in the sun for like, what, 4 to 6 months. Yeah, right? And then we're just gone. So this was their follow-up to... I think my train of thought is different, but Mass Effect Andromeda is their follow-up to this amazing Mass Effect trilogy. And to be fair, if I think about it that way, but the discourse is kind of calmed on it, but I will admit that before the Dragon Age Inquisition issue, there was the Mass Effect 3 ending issue, which was not fun. It was not a good place to be. So one could argue that that's the beginning of the end, but we're going to move past that. I don't even know what the date is. I'm not looking it up. Right, so this is their follow-up for the Mass Effect trilogy, and it's not worthy of the title. This is their answer to all the fumbles they made with the Dragon Age Inquisition open world. This was their answer. They heard the responses about how it's static. I will say BioWare had always been really good at listening to the feedback and making changes in the next game. I always appreciated that. But so all the complaints that we all had about their style of doing open world back in Dragon Age Inquisition were supposed to be answered here in Mass Effect Andromeda. And again, it was a follow-up to one of the most beloved science fiction properties that I know of. And it wasn't worth that. It wasn't good. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. So it didn't do well. And it had a discourse, and it had a meme. It had a meme campaign that was either... I always found this fascinating, that the "my face is tired" memes seem to have so much of the impact that they did. People just say whatever the fuck they want online, with no consideration for the impact of what it's going to have to whomever is reading it, which... that's a different train of thought. Anyway, so it's what I find fascinating is that the "my face is tired" meme, I don't want to say campaign, but wave, we're all used, maybe that's what it was, like we're all used to them now, so it's just like, this is just the current meme, it'll go away, but it seemed to actually have a proportionally large, like it had a response at a magnitude that seemed entirely unexpected, given that it was a fucking anyway. The game did weird things, right? And the company reacted weirdly to it in a way that was noticeably weird, from things that you would think not, things that you wouldn't think would have that level of effect, like fucking memes. I don't remember where I was, so let's just start somewhere else. So that is Mass Effect Andromeda, right? 2017. So at this point, they're not doing well. They had Dragon Age Inquisition. That came out for a brief moment of acclaim before being entirely eclipsed by The Witcher 3. Mass Effect Andromeda came out, which was their follow-up to one of the most beloved franchises of in science fiction. And I don't want to say flopped, but it did not do well, and had a meme campaign that seemed to have an effect. So what did BioWare do after that? Oh, god damn it. February 22nd, 2019, BioWare released a game called Anthem. And it remains one of the biggest disappointments in gaming I've literally ever seen. I've seen a game die overnight. That was Chronicles of Spellborn. They released a patch, and my friend and I had made a website, and we had a 200-person guild, and it was set up so interestingly with different cross-faction servers and all this stuff. The game was fucking alive. The combat system was fascinating. They released their first patch, and the next day, the next time I logged in, it was a fucking ghost town. I don't think I've ever seen a game die that fast since it was dead. I don't know how I got on that tangent. Oh, yeah, one of the most disappointing games of all time. It's still fucking gorgeous. I talked about this in the Helldivers video. It's still fucking gorgeous. It's still so much fun, even watching videos of it. And we were fucking ready to wait for... Motherfucker, look. I have to type the fucking new, not Reddit, because they made a change and my fingers don't like it. And you can't, it's fucking weird. Anthem the game. Top post 3 years ago. Anthem update. Anthem is ceasing development. 15 days ago, pinned comment. This is on the subreddit. Anthem 5-year anniversary mega thread. February 22nd, 2024. 15 days ago. Remember, Anthem update. Anthem is ceasing development 3 years ago. 20 hours ago, my Anthem Javelin. 2 days ago, Altaceptor solo run TOS GM3. 2 days ago, got my platinum trophy. 3 days ago, do we mess with the color scheme? 4 days ago, revisiting my Ranger build in 2024. As a reminder, Anthem update. Anthem is ceasing development 3 years ago. We were fucking ready to wait for them to fix this game. It has the most potential, it has the most potential if you are willing to build out a game of almost any game. It deserved its Final Fantasy XIV moment. It deserved its fucking Cyberpunk moment. It deserved so much better than what they did. And the fucked up thing is that they fucking came out. So Anthem came out. And this is one of the few times I disagreed with Ralph's opinion in Skill Up, and then had to admit that he was right, even though I hated the fact that he was right. Anthem came out. Okay, let's take you through this story. Outside of the fucking drama that was happening in my real life at the time, I do remember I took off a week to play Anthem from work. I took a week off of work to play Anthem. Because of course I did. So, I remember the beta, and I remember being so incredibly excited by everything I saw, and how the game felt, and how the game looked, and just how fucking amazing it all was. And that was the beta. And I remember thinking all these things and looking at all these things, and I said to myself, I can't wait to see just how much more there is once they unlock the beta and release the real game. And the answer is, I believe it might have been half a zone, maybe a full zone. Like the top little crescent moon of the map, I think, was the only thing they hadn't had in the beta. There was nothing there. But even then, this combat system where you get to fucking pilot a mech or a suit, whatever a javelin, there we go. You got to get in this exosuit like fucking Iron Man and literally fly. And me, like I said, playing the Storm, float above a battlefield hurling thunder and lightning and fireballs, or the big guy with the big gun, or the super quick one, or the general purpose one. Like, it was exhilarating in a combat system that, like, Outriders peaks higher, I think. Helldivers peaks more in a war movie cinematically way. But the moment-to-moment feel of piloting those javelins and how gorgeous the world was, and the feel of the guns and just everything about it was, it was like a fucking drug. You got people posting 20 hours ago about their fucking javelins on a game that literally the top post in the subreddit is Anthem update. Anthem is ceasing development 3 years ago. Like, we were willing to wait, and the thing is, they said they were gonna do it. What did they call it? Anthem Year 2? What did they fucking call it? I'm so mad. What did they call the new Anthem Vision? I don't know what the fucking... of course it's gonna do insurance. I don't remember, and I'm not digging. But they came out after all of the discourse happened about how entirely lacking this game was, and they said, guys, we're gonna fucking fix it. We're gonna fix it. Like, all the updates have been slow, and like even my predictions and my hypotheses were completely off, because I was predicting actual content releases, and like, this is the potential, what could happen once they release this, piece of the puzzle, once they release that piece of the puzzle, once they release this piece of the puzzle, then we'll be here, and this will make sense in XYZ. And I was proven entirely wrong, because they didn't fucking release anything. They may have done like a balance change. They didn't come out with anything. And that was the situation, and BioWare came back, and I don't know if some of the lead devs have left at that time or not, but they had heard our cries, and they had heard our feedback, and all the things that we had been saying, and they said, guys, we're gonna fucking fix it. We're gonna go back to the table. We're gonna take the amount of time that's needed. We're gonna take we're gonna give this property the future that it fucking deserves. That's what we're gonna do. And we were like, bet. Because it deserves it. Because it fucking deserves it. Anthem update. Anthem is ceasing development. And this is what we got. After everything, this is what we got. Christian Daily, February 24, 2021. Anthem update. Friends. In the spirit of transparency and closure, we wanted to share that we've made the difficult decision to stop our new development work on Anthem, aka Anthem Next. We will, however, continue to keep the Anthem live service running as it exists today. Since Anthem's launch, the team has been working hard to continually improve the game, releasing multiple updates that brought with them a variety of improvements and introduced new content to play. Towards the end of 2019, we expanded on that effort and started working on a more fundamental restructure of the game. During the development, we've provided updates revealing some of the team's work through blog posts and conversations with you on social media, and it's been inspiring for us to see the positive reactions and feedback. I've been incredibly proud of the work the team has been doing, and excited to see and play each new build of the experience. 2020 was a year unlike any other, however, and while we continue to make progress against all our game projects at BioWare, working from home during the pandemic has had an impact on our productivity. Not everything we had planned as a studio before COVID-19 can be accomplished without putting undue stress on our teams. I know this will be disappointing to the community of Anthem players who have been excited to see the improvements we've been working on. It's also been disappointing for the team who are doing brilliant work. And for me personally, Anthem is what brought me to BioWare, and the last 2 years have been some of the most challenging and rewarding experiences of my career. Game development is hard. Decisions like these are not easy. Moving forward, we need to laser focus our efforts as a studio and strengthen the next Dragon Age and Mass Effect titles while continuing to provide quality updates to Star Wars: The Old Republic. To the Anthem community, thank you for your passion and creativity. Your feedback and suggestions most certainly help shape the team's direction, and on a personal note, your kindness and encouragement were much needed last year. Please stay safe and be kind to each other. Stronger alone, stronger together. Christian. And that's what we got. So, that was Anthem. Interesting follow-up / side note. Star Wars: The Old Republic is moving from BioWare to Broadsword. The news is now official that Star Wars: The Old Republic is moving from the studio called BioWare over to the studio called Broadsword. It will continue to be published by It will continue to be published by Electronic Arts, aka EA, and supported by Lucasfilm Games. Posted June 27th of 2023. So Star Wars: The Old Republic is no longer a BioWare property. And this is the storied history of BioWare. So, the big surprise in all of this, especially with all of the layoffs that have been continuing to happen at a terrifying rate, is that BioWare survived so long. You had the ending of Mass Effect 3 into Dragon Age Inquisition, which, to be fair, was their crowning moment of glory. Like, they had done something, and then 6 months later, The Witcher 3 came out and took all of that away. And then Mass Effect Andromeda came out and didn't do well. And then Anthem released as an empty shell of itself, and then got shut down. So the fact that they've survived this long is actually kind of amazing, and also puts into perspective the fact that, one, Dragon Age Dreadwolf, which is their follow-up to Dragon Age Inquisition, according to an insider that I got literally from watching This Week in Video Games on Skillup's channel, is releasing this year. And they are also, let's see what they're calling it. Mass Effect 5? I thought they were calling it the next Mass Effect. I think that was the official teaser trailer. So they're two critical games. They're two critical especially with Star Wars: The Old Republic no longer in their hands, because they had Knights of the Old Republic. I don't think they did Knights of the Old Republic 2. I think that was a different company. I think it's called Obsidian, but I don't know, and I'm looking it up. But I know they did Knights of the Old Republic. Sorry, I just got a Helldivers 2 update. Did they release the mechs? Oh shit. Oh, this game is fucking amazing. Bro. Sorry, that's kind of sick. Anyway, what was I talking about? Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 5. So yeah, they don't own the Knights of the Old Republic IP anymore. And their two babies are Dragon Age and Mass Effect, which, like I said, they didn't technically fuck up Dragon Age Inquisition. Witcher just came out and took all of the momentum and changed the name of the game. They did fuck up Mass Effect Andromeda. And then Anthem was a debacle. And the fact that the company still exists after, and I don't want to say, well, I will not include Dragon Age Inquisition in this, but in the fumbles and mistakes they made with Mass Effect, Andromeda, and Anthem. So the big thought is that for BioWare to survive, they cannot mess up these two games. Mass Effect 5 and Dragon Age Dreadwolf. They can't afford to mess them up. If they fuck these up, they're gone. There's no other answer. Especially with the amount of layoffs going off. They're gone. The end. If they manage to survive fucking up these two games and don't complete... the percentage chance of that happening is so small. Like if they come out with something interesting that maybe doesn't do super numbers, but does, like, if they do something that draws attention and draws permanence even without being huge, something that's impactful, sure, I can see it, right? Especially if it's not all bad and they can blah 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 blah, right? There's a possibility there. I'm not saying they have to do super amazing, but they can't fuck them up. Technically, they could kind of fuck up Dragon Age Dreadwolf. And in that case, they'd be relying entirely on the next Mass Effect. And then it's a question of that, even if that gets made. But basically, they can't afford to fuck these two games out. And the first game that they're releasing from the two games that they absolutely cannot afford to fuck up in any way, shape, or form whatsoever is Dragon Age Dreadwolf, which is releasing later this year, apparently. Yeah. So this should be interesting. We'll see. But this is only 48 minutes. I thought I was talking longer. Do I want to say anything else? Technically, they can afford some wiggle room. If Dragon Age Dreadwolf, does the interesting thing. Let's look this up. Oh, God, how would I play? Oh, I don't want to look that up. Up to multiple layers of searches to get an answer. Which I could find, but it's a pain in the ass. The question is, did people play more Dragon Age or did people play more Mass Effect? I played both. I think most of us who are BioWare fans probably played both series. We just had an inclination towards one or the other. Especially if you were a BioWare fan, which if you liked the BioWare thing, you were. So you probably had the Knights of the Old Republic. You probably had the Jade Empire, because nobody was really doing it like BioWare did back in the day. They were the original CD Projekt Red, or there might have been a company before it, but that's, you know what I mean. That's how my brain translates it. Or at least of my generation, we'll say that way. So yeah, I'm sure one probably has more of a following than the other, but you probably played both of them. At the very least, you were aware of it. So, yeah. It's yeah. And like I said, I always preferred Mass Effect, and I really do think the Mass Effect following was bigger, if I'm honest. But that's probably biased, because I'm sure I know somebody who preferred the Dragon Age series over the Mass Effect series. Like I said, you probably had both. But technically, they could maybe afford to not do super amazing gangbusters with Dragon Age if they're relying on Mass Effect. But that's already the bad attitude to take. That's already half giving up, which means they have to come out swinging with Dragon Age Dreadwolf. If they do, it's basically just if they don't, it's basically just a sign of decline. Because then, how are you going to think that the Mass Effect is going to have anything behind it? So even if you were more of a Mass Effect fan, you're probably going to get Dragon Age Dreadwolf, especially if you're like me and played both series. Like I'm perfectly happy to purchase this game and see that it's really good, even if I don't finish it, because I prefer Mass Effect, because that would make me more excited for Mass Effect, right? That's fine. But they gotta come out swinging for this. So the fact that this company's last chance, part one, the first half of this company's last chance, is releasing this year. I would love for BioWare. I would love to see BioWare. I've thought this. I would love to see BioWare and CDPR collaborate on a game. I just seeing their separate but similar takes on separate but similar genre expressions combined into this, it would be fascinating. Come on now, that would be a fascinating thing. I like I said, Mass Effect, man, holds a place in my heart. So I definitely don't want to see them fuck that up. So yeah. Here's the problem. Oh, god damn it. Here's the problem. Maybe, you know what? Maybe maybe in a perfect, I don't want to say perfect, because I don't want to wish bad on people, but in an ironic twist, maybe they'll do, there's a game coming out called Dragon's Dogma 2, which I've already purchased, because like I said, I heard the magic system, the casting system in that game is super unique, and I'm always looking for what's the best feeling magic type game, third person game. So of course I've purchased it already, because I ran into issues with the Dragon's Dogma running on my Steam Deck, or on my system actually. But that's releasing, in 2 weeks. When's it coming out? The Dogma 2 release date, March 22nd of 2024. It is March 7th, so just over 2 weeks that's coming out. So it's got a cult following. Dragon's Dogma has a cult following, and everybody who's played it and that I've seen the opinion on that I can remember has been super positive. So if that comes out, it does a Helldivers. But so that's the big contender, and last year I believe was what, Elden Ring, or was it the year before? So like I said, Dragon Age Dreadwolf is releasing this year. Yeah. This should be interesting.